revealed how a blind date with a mechanic transformed this paralyzed CEO's life. An incredible journey begins. James Mitchell sat in his sleek office, the city's pulse hammering below him, each honk and shout spilling through the thin walls like the life he felt he couldn't live. At 32, he was paralyzed, not just physically, but emotionally bound by expectations, chains of privilege and demands from his father that were suffocating. His family, steeped in power and status, had prepared him for a life as a corporate titan. And yet, as he sipped the scotch that warmed his insides, the weight of worthlessness crashed down over him, tighter than the leather strap of his wheelchair. "Tonight is the night," Claire, his younger sister, had said with a sparkle in her eyes. "Just one date, James. Let us break that barrier." As he stared out over the skyline, a twinge of curiosity pushed against the wall of reluctance. He could already hear the laughter of his sister as she painted the picture of Mia Rodriguez, a mechanic with grease-stained hands and a heart that knew real struggles. It pulled at something buried deep inside him, a desire for connection beyond the marble walls of his company, a desire to escape the suffocation of privilege. Dinner at the diner felt like a world apart. It was cozy, the smell of fried food filling the air, mingling with the warmth of easy laughter. Mia didn't know who he was, she just saw him, James, not the paralyzed CEO. She listened as he shared tales from his childhood, memories that dripped with joy and wonder. Her laughter rang out, bright and genuine, breaking down the walls around him piece by piece. Together they talked about hopes that spiraled beyond their current circumstances, and with every word exchanged, James felt a flicker of something he'd almost forgotten existed: hope. "Does your father always make you feel like you have to be somebody you're not?" she asked suddenly, her bright eyes piercing through the haze of his emotional armor. It pierced him like a dart. He nodded slowly, feeling the tightness in his chest swell. "You don't have to be what they want," she said, leaning closer. "Your worth isn't tied to a title." Her words made him squirm and shift, but they created a ripple of excitement and fear, igniting a battle within him. Before he could respond, his phone buzzed violently on the table. It was his father, demanding to know who Mia was. That fiery phone call ignited chaos, with thinly veiled prejudice spilling out. Each word from his father's mouth felt like daggers, cutting into the fragile connection James had just started to build. "She's just a mechanic, James. You need better." The voice hissed in a tone that felt laced with hatred. Yet looking into Mia's eyes full of passion and acceptance, James felt the shift inside him. "Stop." The word burst from James's lips before he could think. Silence swallowed the diner for a split second, all eyes were on him. "I will love who I choose." His heart raced. The weight of tradition crashed hard against the light of possibility. This was his moment, teetering between two paths, one leading to familial approval, the other to the potential of a life untethered from conformity. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let us continue. As their eyes locked, James felt something powerful stir within him. This was more than a fight against his father, this was a fight for himself, for authenticity in a world that demanded he conform. But could he risk everything? The promise of true love was shimmering just beyond his reach, but he sensed the chasm he would need to cross. The question loomed: would choosing love over legacy redefine him or unravel the very foundation of who he thought he was? Ames was acutely aware of the silence that enveloped the diner following his declaration. The clinking of cutlery, the hum of conversations, the sizzling of food on the grill seemed to fade into a hush. All eyes were on him, and for a moment, he could feel their shared breath, as if the whole world was hanging on the edge, waiting for what would happen next. Mia's expression shifted. Her surprise melted away to something profound, a mixture of admiration and curiosity. "James," she whispered, her voice barely breaking through the quiet. His heart raced at the invitation in her tone. He realized, in that breathless moment, that she wasn't just standing at the edge of conventional female expectation, she was a living, breathing challenge to every rule he'd ever been bound to. He could feel the weight of his father's scorn hovering in the air like a dark cloud. What if I lose it all? The position. The respect. The life everyone expects of me? The thoughts tumbled through his mind, but they battled with the warm light of Mia's presence. She wasn't just a mechanic, she was a breath of fresh air, a chance to escape the cage he'd built for himself. "You're worth so much more," Mia said softly, her eyes never leaving his. Her hand moved across the table, fingers brushing against his in a way that ignited warmth deeper than any jacket or blanket ever could. It felt like a lifeline. "What happens next?" he asked, the fear creeping back in. "If I choose you, what does that mean for everything I was taught?" He didn't want to lose the connection they shared, but the fear of letting go tightened around him like a noose. Mia smiled gently, her expression soothing. "It means you might finally find out who you really are. Sometimes you have to break the mold to fit your own shape." James absorbed her words. She had no idea of the gaping void he inhabited. How could she grasp the weight of legacy and expectation resting on his shoulders? But when he looked into her bright, fearless eyes, a flicker of hope mingled with the anxiety. Maybe she understood more than he gave her credit for. The diner began to buzz back to life around them, a clatter of normalcy, but he felt suspended in time, suspended in possibility. Slowly, he withdrew his hand from hers, the heat still lingering, a promise echoed in silence. "Are you ready to stand up for what you want?" she asked, the question leaving a lingering warmth. James swallowed hard, the truth glimmering in front of him. The battle ahead wasn't just against his father but against the very imaginaries he'd clung to for so long. "Would you come with me?" he ventured, the gravity of his own question sending shivers down his spine. "Could we face this together?" A smile burst across her face, bright, infectious, and full of life. "Absolutely." With that simple affirmation, a dam broke inside him. There was fear and uncertainty ahead, but also the intoxicating rush of liberation. He sensed a pivot, a turn toward a different life where love flourished beyond boundaries. In the distance, a phone buzzed again, slicing through the moment. It was his father again, demanding an explanation, a status check he was all too familiar with. But this time, James felt ready. It was time to answer, not just as the obedient son but as a man who finally dared to choose his own path. As he prepared to face the call, a question echoed in his mind: would he be able to maintain this newfound courage, or would the weight of his past drag him back down? With his heart racing and a newly ignited determination, James steadied himself, not knowing what the answer would be but ready to find out. Was he willing to battle for his choice, or would he retreat once more into the shadows of his old life? The phone vibrated again, loud against the diner's tabletop, and James took a deep breath. He glanced at Mia, who gave him an encouraging nod. It was as if she could see right through him, sensing the torrent of doubt threatening to pull him back under. For a moment, he felt anchored by her presence. He picked up the phone, the screen brightening with his father's name, a name that loomed larger than any mountain, heavy with years of pressure and expectation. He swiped to answer, and his bravado cracked one more time. The voice on the other end was authoritative, a thundercloud ready to rain disapproval. "James! Where are you?" His father's voice sliced through the air, firm and insistent. "You were late for our meeting. I hope this isn't some sort of childish stunt." James felt a twinge of old habits and instinct to apologize and justify. But then he remembered Mia, her words echoing in his mind. Break the mold. He sat up a little straighter, shifting his weight, allowing the weight of his past to rest slightly lighter on his shoulders. "I'm at the diner, Dad. Taking a moment for myself," he said, every word feeling like a small act of rebellion. "A moment? You're running a company, not taking a vacation. We have investors to impress. What would they think seeing you lounging around instead of working?" James bit back the urge to defend himself further. Instead, he glanced at Mia again. She was listening, eyes wide, her breath held, as if she was in this moment with him. He could feel the corner of his mouth twitch, a slight smile forming. Turning his attention back to the phone, he replied, "Maybe what they think doesn't matter as much as what I think." Silence hung on the line for just a moment. It wasn't just the distance between father and son, there was a gulf that had been growing over years of expectation and conformity. "You've lost your mind, haven't you?" His father laughed harshly. "You will regret this disrespect, James. You are not a child, you are a businessman. Act like one." And with that, he expected defiance, but all he felt was relief. Mia squeezed his hand, and the warmth spread across his chest until he felt it bloom into a smile. "I'm not going to regret choosing my own path, Dad. I need to find out what that is." His father inhaled sharply, and for a second, James thought he might hear a different voice, one that was softer, more understanding. But instead, the hard edge returned. "Don't say I didn't warn you," his father snapped, and the line went dead. James stared at the screen for a long moment, the silence wrapping back around him. The world inside the diner resumed its normal rhythm, plates clattered, laughter spilled, and the smell of frying food thickened the air, filling him with an odd mixture of anxiety and excitement. Mia's hand tightened around his. "You did it," she said, almost breathless. "You stood up to him." His heart raced. Every beat echoed with the pulse of unfamiliar freedom. It was a small victory, but it was his one that felt like it could lead to something bigger. "Yeah, I guess I did," he replied, nearly incredulous. Mia leaned closer, her eyes sparkling with a mix of admiration and pride. "This is just the beginning for you, James. Think of it as taking that first leap into the unknown. Or the first step off a cliff," he joked, his nerves bubbling to the surface, though just beneath, excitement surged. "Sometimes, it's the fall that teaches us to soar," she said, her voice low and teasing, laced with a fearless kind of knowing. Am I really ready for this? He wondered aloud, unsure. His heart pounded not only from fear but from a deep, throbbing thrill that hinted at infinite possibilities. Mia's smile was bright, filled with a promise of what was to come. "You're braver than you know. Just don't stop now." He caught her gaze, and it ignited something inside him. "Together, then?" he asked, hoping she'd share in this leap with him. "In anything," she replied. As they locked eyes, electric sparks lit up the space between them, a connection stronger than any ties of the past. But just as the moment crystallized, a new tension unraveled. His father's words echoed in his mind like a haunting. Would he truly be able to face the storm of disappointment his father would unleash next? How deep would that storm reach into his new path? As they sat in that bustling diner, the world rushing around them, James felt the weight of destiny tipping. Would it be his or his father's in the end? And with that thought lingering, he couldn't shake the sense that a greater challenge lay ahead, waiting just beyond the horizon. James took another deep breath, the rush of voices around him starting to settle into a distant hum. He could still feel Mia's hand warm against his, grounding him amidst the storm brewing in his mind. The diner, with its flickering neon lights and bustling waitstaff, felt like a world apart from the heavy expectations of his father. "Let us get out of here," Mia suggested, her eyes reflecting a spark of adventure. It was as though she could sense the mix of fear and exhilaration swirling within him. "Where to?" he replied, curiosity piquing despite the emotional turbulence. "Anywhere but here. Let's take a drive." He hesitated, then nodded, grateful for her unwavering spirit. They slipped through the diner's door, losing the cacophony behind them. The cool evening air hit him, a stark contrast to the warmth they had just stepped away from. As they climbed into Mia's car, a simple, used hatchback that smelled faintly of pine air freshener, it felt like they were embarking on a new chapter. The engine turned over with a familiar hum, and the city lights flickered on as they drove into the night. "What's going through your mind?" Mia asked, glancing over at him as she navigated the streets. He chuckled softly, feeling lighter. "Mostly wondering what I'm going to do next." It was the truth, yet it felt like an invitation for more. Mia smiled knowingly, encouraging him to keep going. "You are not alone in this, James. You've got to trust yourself." He was overwhelmed by how connected he felt to her, how her belief in him ignited a fire he thought had long been extinguished under his father's command. "What if I fail?" "Every great story has a few stumbles, James." "You know that," she replied with gentle conviction. "But failure doesn't define you. It's how you rise after that matters." "Easy for you to say," he shot back playfully, but as the words left his lips, he realized how much he needed to hear that. Bravery wasn't about never feeling afraid, it was about facing that fear head-on. Minutes passed as they ventured farther from the city streetlights, fading to the occasional flicker of stars overhead. They parked at a lookout point, the outlines of the city twinkling below like a sea of dreams, both close yet so far away. "Wow," he whispered, stepping out to take it all in. "It's beautiful." "Just think," Mia said, moving next to him. "This could be your life. You're the one who gets to choose what comes next." Again, he felt the weight lift, just a little. "What do I want?" He mused aloud as he stared at the horizon, shadows of doubt mixing with rays of hope. Mia looked up at him, her expression earnest. "You want to be happy, right? Find your own journey. This is your chance, James." Just as he began to imagine that journey, the phone buzzed again, this time signaling a text message. His heart sank as he pulled out the device, a message from his father. "You've made your choice. I hope it doesn't cost you everything. Don't expect any backup from me." The words hit him like a cold wave. Anger mixed with the relief from the diner, washing over him again. "He'll never understand," he murmured, frustration tightening his chest. Mia turned to him, her expression fierce with determination. "You don't need his approval." As they stood there, the weight of the world unsettled within him, he could feel a shift happening, his own fear transforming into determination. He took a deep breath, ready to let go of chains that had held him back for too long. "Maybe it's time to build just what I want," James said, his voice steadier than before. Mia's eyes sparkled with that contagious hope again. "Exactly. So what are you going to do?" But as a flicker of excitement ignited in his chest, that haunting question returned. What did that future really look like? The answer hovered just out of reach, tantalizing him with its promise. The vastness of the night mirrored his uncertainty, and as he looked out at the city, his past and his potential, James couldn't shake the feeling that a storm was brewing. But would it be the kind that brought rain, or would it uproot everything he knew and cared for? "Let us find out," he said quietly, as the path ahead began to unveil itself, pulling him into the deep unknown. What awaited him there could change everything. Would he be brave enough to discover it? The air was electric with possibility, and James couldn't shake the feeling that this was the beginning of something monumental. He stood side by side with Mia, the vast darkness of the night ahead of them, contrasting sharply with the confined shadows of his past life. It was time to move forward, and yet, the emotional weight from his father's message still lingered like a storm cloud. "Do you ever think about where you want to be in 5 years? Mia broke the silence, her tone reflective as she leaned against the car. James glanced at her, processing the question. "Sometimes. But it's hard to focus on the future when the present is so complicated." Mia nodded, her eyes scanning the horizon, perhaps searching for answers as well. "I get that. But think about it, if you had the chance to do anything, take any risk, what would it be?" "Honestly? I want to create something meaningful. Something that stands for who I really am." The words slipped out before he could reel them back in, but they felt right. The thought of building a life based on his terms sent warmth coursing through him. "Then let us start with baby steps," Mia encouraged, her voice playful but sincere. "What's one thing you can do tomorrow that aligns with that?" James ran a hand through his hair, the gears in his mind turning. "Maybe I can look into that art program I've been thinking about. I've always loved painting, and it's been an escape for me." "See? There you go." She beamed, the smile lighting up her face in a way that made his heart race. "That's progress." He turned to her, inspiration shining in their shared moment. "What about you, Mia? What's your dream?" She hesitated, a flicker of vulnerability passing through her bright eyes. "I want to travel. See the world, help people along the way. Maybe volunteer in different countries." Wow. His appreciation for her deepened. "That's amazing. You should absolutely do that." "One day," she said softly, the honesty in her tone casting a spell around them. In that moment, the world felt like it had shrunk to just the two of them, and a connection formed in the stillness. But the comfort soon dissipated as the unreal weight of his father's message came crashing back in. If only it were that simple, Mia. My dad he doesn't see what I see. He sees failure. Then redefine what that looks like for yourself, she replied, placing a reassuring hand on his arm. The world is full of possibilities, and you deserve to find what makes you feel alive. James took a deep breath, feeling the fire inside him ignite once more. Maybe he could break free from everything that had held him back. But doubt crept in. Was he truly ready for that? Suddenly, the headlights of a car flashed behind them. A truck pulled up, the driver leaning out the window, looking eager. You two need some help? James felt a pulse of anxiety. Was he ready to engage with the outside world, or was this just another reminder of the life he was trying to leave behind? Mia turned, eyes sparkling with mischief. Nope. Just contemplating the universe. She called back, laughter in her voice. The driver chuckled and drove off, leaving them alone again, but the moment served as a reminder of the life that continued around him. Choices. Paths, unexpected encounters. Ready to jump in? Mia asked with a grin, her voice dripping with encouragement. James took a long look at the heights of the city and the freedom of the stars above. The uncertainty swirling in his gut began transforming into something else, possibility. Yeah, I think I am. He climbed back into the car, determination glowing within him. Let us see where this new road takes us. As Mia turned the key in the ignition, a new text buzzed on his phone. His heart raced at the thought of what it might contain. Who is it? She asked, glancing sideways. He swallowed hard as he read the words, a sense of dread filling the air. A simple phrase, yet loaded with pressure. You can still come back, son. What did it mean to go back? James could feel destiny calling, and the decision loomed ahead, one that could reshape everything, including his relationship with his father. Do I really want to know? He muttered to himself, the night suddenly feeling heavier. Hey, if it's from your dad, yeah, it is. He sighed, conflicted. Mia's voice was steady. Then let us talk about it. Together. As the vehicle rolled down the road toward the future, James felt another choice ahead of him. The message was just a whisper now, but the call of his true self was loud and demanding. He had to decide. Would he stand firm against the pull of the past or take the leap into the unknown? The car hummed softly as Mia deftly guided it through the night, while James's mind raced in a tangled mess of emotions. The road ahead stretched into the unknown, a metaphor replaying in his head, a path filled with shadow and light, opportunities and traps. It felt surreal, but a flicker of excitement crept in, igniting the spirits he had thought long dimmed. Hey, what's bothering you? Mia's voice broke through his thoughts. She glanced over with concern etched across her face. You're quiet. What if I choose wrong? His voice was barely above a whisper, the weight of that question hanging between them. What if I go after my dreams, and it all falls apart? Mia pulled a thoughtful face before responding, but what if it doesn't? What if going after your dreams opens doors you never knew existed? He turned to look at her, her unwavering belief in him kindling a hope he didn't realize was still there. I guess he hesitated, searching for the right words. I just don't want to disappoint my dad. Sometimes it feels like the weight of his expectations is crushing me. She sighed, her eyes fixed firmly on the road. Parents hold a lot of influence, but at the end of the day, you're the one who has to live with your decisions. They don't have to understand what you pursue. James took a deep breath, feeling the tension that had built within him since the text message. It's just complicated. I don't want to be a failure, but I also don't want to be someone I'm not. Then start being who you truly are. Not who he expects you to be, but who you are. Explore your art, find your path. The first step is always the hardest. Maybe you're right. There was a strength in her words that made him feel buoyant, even if just for a moment. It's just so easy to think about all the ways I could fail. Sure, but what about all the ways you can succeed? Her infectious enthusiasm seeped into him. You have a gift, James. Use it. Let it shine. As they drove further, the familiar streets of their hometown faded into the distance, replaced by winding roads flanked by dense trees and a star-speckled sky. The beauty of it all caught James off guard, the night feeling alive, sprawling out before him like a blank canvas. Mia reached over and turned on the radio, filling the silence with music. A gentle tune washed over them, an anthem of hope stirring in James's chest. He closed his eyes for a brief moment, allowing the melody to seep into his bones. "Let us make a plan," Mia exclaimed, her voice alive with energy. "Tomorrow, while you look at that art program, I can start planning a trip for us somewhere. A chance for both of us to breathe." His heart skipped a beat at the thought of adventure. "Where do you want to go?" "Oh, I don't know anywhere." She laughed. "Just somewhere new. It doesn't have to be anywhere fancy. I just want to break free, even if it's just for a weekend." James felt a wave of excitement course through him. "I love that. Let us do it." They talked about destinations and adventures, their laughter filling the car like a burst of sunlight. As they shared hopes and dreams, the shadows in James's heart began to lighten, replaced by a sense of purpose. But as they approached a stoplight at the edge of town, his phone buzzed again, a familiar sensation that directly contradicted the newfound lightness of the moment. Another message from his father. "Take a look. For your sake." He swallowed hard, uncertainty creeping in again. Mia caught his eye and lifted an eyebrow. "Everything okay?" "No," he shook his head, staring at the illuminated screen. "It feels like my dad is trying to pull me back in. Then it's time to push forward again." Her eyes glimmered with determination. "Let us navigate this together." In that moment, James realized that the biggest challenge wasn't he stepping away from his father's expectations, it was finding what it truly meant to chase the life he wanted. As the light turned green, he gripped the steering wheel, feeling the power of choice. "You're right," he confessed, a newfound strength igniting within him. "I won't let fear run my life anymore." But what lay ahead was uncertain. The past still lurked in the shadows, waiting for its chance to pull him back. "Let us do this," he said, resolute as they drove into the night, unaware of how the next decision would change everything. The car rolled smoothly through the quiet streets, the warmth inside contrasting with the cool night air outside. James felt an energetic buzz racing through him, but the weight of his father's message lingered. He turned the screen toward Mia, the stark words glaring back at him felt heavy. "Take a look. For your sake," he read aloud, the frustration spilling over. What does that even mean? Why can't he just trust me? Mia's brows knitted together. Maybe he's just worried about you. Parents can be protective, even when it feels suffocating. Protective? Or controlling? James replied, his voice thick with agitation. I can't keep living my life according to his playbook. That is true, but don't forget he is your dad. Maybe he sees something that worries him, and it's hard for him to let go. Well, he really needs to. James slammed his palm against the steering wheel, and the sudden noise startled them both. I need to find my own way. Taking a deep breath, Mia softened her tone, let us focus on tomorrow. You're looking at that art program, right? Your journey is starting there. Yeah, I've been avoiding thinking about it, James admitted. I want to be excited, but the fear of failure, his voice trailed off, the reality of the situation creeping back in. And the fear of disappointments, right? For you and for your dad, Mia said, her eyes sympathetic but steady. But what if you give yourself the chance? What if this program is what you need? He nodded, feeling her encouragement, his pulse quickening with the flicker of possibility. I should at least check it out. It's crazy, but maybe it's time to take that leap. With new resolve, they continued their drive, a harmony developing in their conversation. They brainstormed about future projects, art pieces James imagined, and even how Mia could join in. Every idea shared created an invisible thread of excitement between them, weaving a fabric of adventure. As they approached the edge of town, James felt a shift in the atmosphere, as if the horizon held something important just out of sight. What if tomorrow changes everything? He mused aloud, glancing at the scenic view punctuated by the glow of lights starting to appear around them. That's the beauty of it, isn't it? Mia replied, grinning widely. Everything can change in a moment. You won't know until you take a step forward. James smiled, the warmth of hope blooming within him. Yet, the tension remained, gnawing at him. What if stepping forward meant stepping away from his father completely? The moment felt electric, the air thickened with untapped potential, and as they rounded a bend, a little diner came into view. Its neon sign buzzed lovingly in darkened surroundings, an oasis of light in the quiet world around them. Hey, let us stop there, Mia suggested, excitement dancing in her eyes. I could go for some fries, and who knows? Maybe we'll find some inspiration at a local spot. Sure, why not? He agreed, the diner looking welcoming. It felt right. An adventure awaited just inside with flashy signs and the promise of comfort food. They parked and stepped inside, the smell of greasy burgers and fries wafting through the air. The chatter of other patrons blended into a cozy hum. James could already imagine the story swirling around him, and the fear of his father's expectation faded, if only for a moment. As they settled into a booth, laughter bubbling up between them, James felt alive for the first time in weeks. But deep down, he sensed that their embrace of spontaneity might provoke a response from his father, one that could shatter this newfound excitement. What if James started, pausing as uncertainty crept in again? What if he seeks me out after this? What if he doesn't like where I'm headed? Mia leaned closer, her voice a calm against the storm within. You're not going to know until you face it. And you won't be alone. I'll be with you. A mixture of hope and anxiety fluttered in James's chest. Tomorrow was approaching, and he was ready to take that leap. But would it cost him more than he was prepared to give? Feeling the weight of the night and all its possibilities, he took a breath and looked at Mia. What happens when I find my dream and it clashes with my past? The only sound was the crackle of the fryer in the background, and James understood the real battle was not just in reaching for his dreams but figuring out how to forge his own identity in a world still tethered to expectations. In that moment, he realized the journey ahead might be exciting but would also demand sacrifices he had yet to consider. And as they shared fries and laughter intertwined with unspoken fears, one question hung in the air, heavy and urgent: could he truly step into his own light without leaving the past behind? The chatter in the diner faded into a blur as James continued to wrestle with his thoughts. He took a sip of his soda, the fizz tingling on his tongue, but it did little to distract him from the weight resting on his chest. Mia's presence was a soothing balm, yet the tension lingered like an uninvited guest. You okay? Mia's gentle voice broke through his spiral. Her brow was slightly furrowed, an expression of genuine concern. Yeah, I just keep thinking about everything: my dad, the program, what it all means for my future, he confessed, rubbing the back of his neck. What if I end up letting him down? Mia reached across the table, her fingers warm against his. If you're doing what makes you happy, don't you think he'll come around eventually? It might take time, but shouldn't your happiness be a priority? Looking into her eyes, James felt a flicker of hope. I want it to be. I just worry he might see my choice as a betrayal. That I'm giving up on the life he envisioned for me. Mia nodded, squeezing his hand. You're not giving up. You're just choosing a different path. One that's truly yours. Let him understand that. A waiter approached with their food, the steam swirling upwards and filling the space with delicious aromas. James momentarily lost himself in the sight of the crispy fries piled high on their plates, the golden promise of comfort. Yet, the moment he picked one up, a shadow flickered across his mind. Every step I take feels like walking on a tightrope, he said, biting into the fry. What happens if I slip? You won't know until you try, Mia reassured, her voice steady as she took a fry for herself. Life isn't about perfection. It's about the journey. Embrace it. Taking a deep breath, James bit into his burger. The grease felt grounding, a reminder to stay in the moment, but he couldn't ignore the knot tightening in his stomach. What if his dad's worry turned into anger when he learned about his ambitions? Or worse, what if he lost the chance to mend their relationship? After a moment of silence, he leaned in closer to Mia. What about you? You've been so supportive, but what if my decisions impact us, too? Are you ready for that? Mia gazed back, her expression unwavering. "You're worth supporting, James. It's not just about you breaking free, I respect your journey, and I want to be part of it. We can figure it out together." Her words struck him, igniting a small flame of unity within. Could he truly allow someone in? Did he dare to believe that he could forge a new life without losing those he loved? What if I can't balance it all? He whispered, vulnerability punctuating his voice. "We'll find a way," she said confidently. "Just like the fries and the burger, two different flavors that somehow taste amazing together. You and your dream can coexist with your past. You just have to give it a chance." James smiled, the warmth spreading through him, giving him courage. He thought of the art program, each brushstroke symbolizing a fresh start. It wouldn't erase his past, but it could redefine his future. As they finished their meal, the tension began to ease, and laughter mixed with the din of the diner. But even as he reveled in the moment, a question loomed, a reminder of tomorrow's inevitability. Was he ready to confront not only his father's expectations but also the fear lurking in his own heart? They stepped out into the night, the world buzzing with possibilities. James took a deep breath, inhaling the crisp air tinged with optimism yet shadowed with doubt. "Mia, if I face my dad tomorrow, what if I lose him forever?" Mia paused, her expression contemplative. "Sometimes, losing something is the only way to find out what truly matters. Are you ready for what's next?" With those powerful words hanging between them, James realized the road ahead may be fraught with challenges, but it was a road he had to travel if he wanted to discover who he was meant to be. And the next step loomed larger than ever, echoing with urgency, leaving James to wonder what truths awaited him when he finally dared to confront his father. And his own fears? The sun had barely begun its ascent when James woke up the next day. He lay in his bed, the sheets tangled around him like a cocoon, his thoughts still wrestling with the daunting conversation that lay ahead. The morning light filtered through the window, casting stripes across his face. With a sigh, he swung his legs over the side of the bed and pressed his palms against his temples, trying to chase away the heavy burden resting there. Today was the day he would finally speak to his father about the art program. He had spent countless nights rehearsing the conversation in his mind. Each scenario was riddled with anxiety, fear of disappointment, anger, or worse, silence. Would his father even listen? James took a deep breath and stood up, the day already feeling impossibly weighty. As he prepared for the day, Mia's words echoed in his mind. Sometimes, losing something is the only way to find out what truly matters. Those words were like a spark, igniting a glimmer of courage within him. He chose to wear the blue shirt Mia said brought out the color of his eyes. Small gestures mattered, they made him feel lighter as he slipped it on. "You've got this," he reminded himself as he headed downstairs. His mother was in the kitchen, humming softly to herself as she prepared breakfast. The smell of bacon and eggs filled the air, and for a brief moment, the comforting smell distracted him. But soon enough, the familiar knot returned, tightening in his stomach. "Morning, honey," his mom said, smiling brightly. Her eyes sparkled with warmth, but James felt as if he were wrapped in a thick fog. "Are you excited for today?" He tucked his hands into his pockets, the weight of the world pressing down again. "Yeah, just a little nervous," he admitted, trying to keep his voice steady. She set down the spatula and stepped closer, concern etched into her features. "You'll do great. Just remember, no matter what, we love you." Those words lingered in the air, soft yet powerful, and he nodded, grateful for her unwavering support. After breakfast, James threw himself into finishing up some work for school, but his mind kept drifting back to the conversation with his father. It seemed like a mountain looming in his path. He glanced at the clock. Time was slipping away, and the moment of truth was approaching faster than he anticipated. Finally, it was time. He grabbed his keys and headed out, each step toward the car feeling heavier than the last. The drive to his father's office was filled with a buzzing silence, the world outside seeming to blur. What if his father lashed out? Or worse, what if he just turned away? He parked, staring at the entrance, his heart thudding in his chest. As he stepped out of the car, he recalled the warmth of Mia's hand squeezing his, her voice encouraging him to embrace his journey. But when he reached the door and stepped inside, a wave of cold dread washed over him. His father's office was just down the hallway, the very place where he had spent countless hours as a child trying to understand the business world, a place filled with expectations and norms. Would today be different?
He approached the office door, hesitating for a split second before knocking.
The sound echoed louder than he had expected, as if calling back the memories of their relationship and all the unspoken words. "Come in," a booming voice called from within. James pushed the door open, his heart racing now, a mix of fear and determination coursing through him. As he stepped inside, he met his father's gaze, eyes that had always held him up but now felt like they could just as easily tear him down. Yet, as he prepared to speak, a thought struck him.
What if this wasn't just about confession? What if it was a chance for clarity, a moment to rebuild?
"Dad," James started, his voice catching at the moment hung thick and palpable in the air, everything he feared confronting, everything he yearned to share, about to be unleashed.
Would this moment change everything, or would it lead to the unraveling he feared?
In that charged silence, James took a deep breath and prepared
to find out.
James stood in the doorway, the weight of expectations pressing firmly against his chest.
His father's office, adorned with accolades and framed photographs of their family's legacy, felt more like a fortress than a sanctuary.
The air reeked of polished wood and cigars, a comforting scent for years, yet now it stung with pressure. He steadied his hands on the back of the chair across from his father. "James," his father greeted, surprise flickering across his face, quickly morphing into the authoritative veneer that James had known all his life.
"I wasn't expecting you. What's this about?"
"I wanted to talk," James began, each word feeling like a weight lifting, yet the tremor in his voice betrayed his nerves. "Of course, you did," his father replied, folding his arms.
"I assumed it was about work. Whatever it is, let us make it quick."
James glanced around the office, his childhood splashed across the walls in trophies and framed business deals. But at that moment, it felt surreal, as if he were watching from a distance. "It's not about work," he said slowly. He took a breath, digging deep for the courage Mia had inspired in him.
"It's about me, my life."
"Then you really should be discussing it with your mother," his father shot back, impatience lacing his tone. James felt his pulse quicken, the familiar frustration bubbling under the surface.
"Dad, no. I need to talk to you."
The surprising strength in his own voice seemed to resonate in the stillness of the room.
"And I need you to understand that you're not the child you used to be. You're a businessman. You have a reputation to uphold. And I want to start living my life, not just upholding a reputation."
The words slipped out, echoing louder than he intended, hanging firmly in the air between them. His father's eyebrows shot up, disbelief painted across his face.
"What do you mean?" James pressed forward, determined. "I've looked into some art programs. I'm considering pursuing painting." His father's expression darkened instantly. "Art? You're joking, right? You think you can throw away everything I've built for you just to chase some pipe dream?" "No, Dad, it's not a pipe dream. It's about finding out who I really am, not just who you expect me to be."
Each word sunk deeper into him, filling him with a sense of liberation that was both frightening and exhilarating. His father leaned back, crossing his arms tighter.
"I expect you to run the company.
I expect you to take your rightful place.
And maybe I don't want that rightful place." James shouted, an unexpected surge of defiance sparking in his chest. "I don't want the weight of family lineage hanging over me anymore. I need to discover what brings me joy."
Silence washed over them, a cold blanket that both stung and soothed. James noted the hint of softness in his father's gaze, a glimmer of confusion, perhaps a shadow of worry.
"You need to understand that life is complicated. You think this is easy?
It's the business world, James, it's harsh.
I know.
But I can't keep hiding from my own dreams because of fear," James asserted.
"I want to live a life of regret, wondering what could have been." His father's expression morphed, conflict turning like gears behind his eyes. "And if it doesn't work out?"
"I'd rather know than wonder," James replied, tears suddenly welling up, his heart thrumming with both fear and hope.
"I need you to trust that I can handle this."
A tense moment passed, the air charged with unspoken emotions. James stood firm, daring to hope that his father might recognize the man he was becoming rather than the boy he had raised.
"Trust me," James breathed, "to find my own way."
The heavy silence rolled again, this time weighed with the potential for change. His father shifted in his chair, and for the first time, James saw a flicker of vulnerability beneath the hard exterior. "You might regret it, you know," his father finally said quietly. But the truth had already settled in James' heart. "Maybe I'll regret not trying," he replied softly, his voice steadying. The vulnerability in his father's eyes deepened. "You're serious about this?" James nodded, feeling the yes resonate deep in his bones. "With all my heart." Then it happened, the shift. His father's facade cracked. "You just surprised me. You're not the boy I expected to see," he muttered, gaze focused inward, battling his own fears. James felt the hope flicker anew. "That doesn't mean you can't be proud of who I'm becoming." As the weight of tension slowly ebbed, James leaned in and said, "You might want to do the same." For the first time, his father hesitated, the walls he had built around himself seeming to tremble. They remained locked in each other's gaze, the room alive with the possibility of understanding, a tentative bridge to a different kind of relationship built on acceptance. "Let us see where this goes," his father finally said, and while it was not a full acceptance, it was a promise of something new. "Thank you," James whispered, the words emerging like a fragile bud. They were the first steps toward potential redemption and renewed connection. As James exited the office, a tidal wave of relief washed over him. Each step felt lighter, the oppressive air lifting just a little. He'd faced down the fear, and though he knew challenges lay ahead, he felt a warmth radiate at the core of his being. Mia awaited him in the parking lot, her eyes bright with warmth and anticipation. "How did it go?" she asked, a grin breaking across her face. I think he is finally starting to understand," James replied, a smile spreading like sunshine across his own. There was still a journey ahead, but at that moment, he felt a pulse of freedom that the life he had always imagined was beginning to unfold in ways he never dreamed possible. "Ready for the next chapter?" Mia asked, her eyes sparkling. "Absolutely," James said, heart racing with the thrill of overcoming. And together, they stepped into the light of the future, renewed courage guiding their steps into the uncharted territory of their dreams. This was just the beginning. Now, if you felt the power in James' transformation and the courage to chase your own dreams, you need to subscribe now. Don't miss out on exclusive stories that inspire. Leave a like now to keep this content alive and to supercharge the algorithm. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings about this incredible journey. Your voices matter. And please, share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation and understand the power of following their own path. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the inspiration.